Hi everybody, it's Nella Martel.
Hey guys. So we spent the last couple weeks talking about family. 2 weeks ago, we covered the topic of family and empathy and how empathy is different than sympathy. Last week, we talked about how our families can better understand us, so communication and conversation with family. And this week, we want to talk a little bit about our families separate from ourselves. So we all know that living with an incurable condition is hard because it's something that we can't change about ourselves. But we want to spend this week thinking about how it's also really hard for our families because it's also something that they can't change. And especially for parents, that's a really difficult thing to experience. So all the things that we experience with our condition or our diagnosis, like denial, anger, frustration, fear, resentment, you name it, guilt, especially guilt if it's something genetic, and that is definitely present. I know that's happened in my family. Those are all things that we're feeling, but it's also things that they're feeling. And I think a lot of times as people living in this, we get so wrapped up in our own stress of what's going on in our lives that we can forget about our family members. And just, I wanted to comment on that one response of denial. Sometimes families can become in denial of a diagnosis, and that's a really common coping mechanism that oftentimes parents or loved ones, maybe spouses even, can exhibit. And that is, many of you are familiar with the fight or flight response of our nervous system. So that denial, while it's so frustrating for us as the people with the conditions, is really just a flight response. So it's that this is a really hard thing to touch. It's, my mom often uses this analogy of a hot coal, like anything that comes up that has to do with a child's illness or disability, it's like a hot coal and we want to drop it right away, and we run away from it, and in a lot of cases that presents itself like denial. So what we can do to get around that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so as we know, our family can be really our source of support through our journey with chronic illness. So they can be our biggest cheerleaders, but we also need to recognize that it's normal if sometimes we have a family member, like a sibling or a cousin or somebody, who might even resent you a little bit, especially a sibling who may have had issues with the attention that you got as a child, your parents' attention. Sometimes that can result in them feeling neglected or angry, which usually is just a result of more time and attention being given to the sick child. So if your family members are very supportive and really happy to be there for you, which I know we are both very lucky to have family like that, it's important to always stop and thank them, because this is hard for them too. And they're quick to make it all about us, as are we sometimes. But it's always good to check in with them and ask how are they doing. How are they doing? Are they okay? Are you feeling okay right now? I know this has been this time period has been rough, or whatever it is that comes up in your life with your chronic illness. It's happening to your family members too. So we can't expect them to be their best self if they don't take care of themselves first too. So self-care is just as important for our loved ones. If they are going to be there for us and be our support system, they have to first be there for themselves too, just the way we have to.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I get to be a nag of my father a lot with his diet and stuff. But I think it's really important to acknowledge that, our family members, especially our parents, are tending to their own well-being and tending to their stress.
And they're coping with it the way that they know how to cope. And sometimes might not agree with how they cope with things, but
making some recommendations like,
yeah,
hey, have you tried meditating? Have you tried, breathing? Or have you tried getting outdoors, maybe going for a walk? Or what's their diet looking like? Is it really unhealthy? Because we know now that modern science has connected certain kinds of foods, like processed foods, to also increase stress and other illnesses.
And sometimes even just giving them permission for space.
Yeah.
It's okay for you to walk away from me right now. It's okay for you to go and de-stress. I know that this is, hard on you too. So if you need to take some time, don't feel guilty about not being there for me every second of the day or being on call for me. So sometimes giving them that permission can be helpful for how they de-stress, and then they're usually better able to come back and be that cheerleader that we know them to be.
It's a great point. So that's it for this week, guys. We are really looking forward to this conversation. I know we have a lot of family members, siblings in the group now, so we'd love to hear your side of this too.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Have a great week.